Hey, Connexus Church, my name is Vijay Krishnan. I'm lead pastor at The Well, which is a church just down the 400 from you. We are also a multi-site church, as you are. We have one of our sites in movie theaters. We understand that world. Not only that, as you may have already heard, Jeff and I have become friends over the years, and that's been a gift to me. But also, Connexus Church has been a gift to our church. We were one of the first partner churches walking with you, and that was such an encouragement to us and a help to us. And so I just want to thank you for that, and thank you for being a part of the church in Canada, coming back, in a sense, to in-person again. I have a question for you today. We're going to wrestle with, what does it mean to be truly great? The first half of my career, really the first 10, 11 years, I was not a pastor. I worked in the marketing and advertising world in the GTA. And that world, and certainly the business world that, I'm a business undergrad, was all about greatness in terms of all of the ways that you could measure it: fame, success, profit margin, innovation, creativity, getting noticed. And it was just the relentless pursuit of greatness. Each day was a new day to try to be great. And yes, you may have succeeded yesterday, or yes, you may have did something last week or last month, but what's next? More and next marked our lives as people sort of working in marketing and advertising. And certainly as a person within that, you're climbing the ladder and thinking, okay, how do I get better? How do I get noticed? How do I be better? How do I do better? Greatness was just a part of the air we breathed, both kind of corporately in terms of our jobs, but I would say personally myself. Now, I'd like to tell you that all changed when I became a pastor of a church, but it didn't. Just the metrics changed, and I started to think, okay, how do I be a better pastor? How do I do better? How do I preach better? How do I lead better? I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to grow. We are, in a sense, I don't think that's new to humans, but we are in the social media age, the internet age, and so greatness has taken on a whole new level. The Journal of Psychology and Research on Cyberspace did a study in the year 2000 with kids ages 8 to 11. And they asked them to rank order the things that were most important to them. And in the year 2000, fame was number 15 on the list. That same journal did that same study with a new group of 8 to 11-year-olds 17 years later in 2017, and fame was number 1. It just describes actually the world we're living, that people of every age and stage are thinking, how do I get better, be better, do better? How do I become great? However I might define that. If I asked you this question, well, what's holding you back from true greatness? What's holding me back from true greatness? You might answer like this. Some of us think, well, my intellect. If I was just smarter. I see people who just seem to get things faster. They're faster learners. They have a brain that just works on another level. Their intellect, has led them to greatness, and I don't have it. I can't get it. I'm trying to read more, and maybe some of the stuff you're watching on YouTube is like how to speed read and, how to accumulate, and how you can sharpen your brain and get the synaptic connections to work faster. Some of us think, oh, intellect, that's what's holding me back from true greatness. Others of us would say, well, wealth. I didn't inherit much from my family, or I don't have enough money. If I could really had enough money to invest or to, start this new business, I don't have enough wealth. If I had that, I could become great. That's the obstacle. That's what's holding me back. Others might say, well, my family, I didn't inherit a business from my family. My family name is actually something I had to work against. It hasn't worked for me. My parents don't have generations of success that they came from. Other people I see that just because of the last name they had, the family they have, the house they were born in, it led them to greatness. My family's actually gotten in the way of that. Some of us might say, oh, if I had a better family, if I had better pedigree, I would be great. Some of us might say, well, if I looked a different way, if I looked bigger, if I was a little bit taller, if I was more beautiful, if I could turn heads, if I could get noticed. It just seems that beautiful people get more opportunities. They get more noticed in whatever world or realm that they live in, whatever age they might be. And so some of us might say, oh, I don't have what it looks like, That's the lack of beauty is what's holding me back. Others might say opportunity. I can't explain it. These other people, things just seem to fall into their lap. People seem to notice them or give them an opportunity. I never had those opportunities, and because I haven't had those opportunities, that's what's holding me back from greatness. We have to check ourselves, though. A little bit of a caution. Because if you think about it, there are people that that had all of those things that you think if you had, you'd be great, and they didn't turn out great. They may have done great things. They may have gotten fame. They may have gotten recognition. They may have gotten wealth. They may have gotten followers, subscribers, likes, opportunities, success, an IPO. But in the end, you might say, you look at their life and think, yeah, they might have done great things, but they weren't actually great as a person. Or even if they wouldn't say that, the people close to them might say that, yeah, not so great. Doesn't it seem like, and we perhaps know people, whether in our family or in the business world or in education or in sports or in media, and even in circles of faith, right? The church is not immune to this. We see people who look great, who seem to have accomplished great things, but in the end failed to actually be great. And so we should caution ourselves to think, well, if I could just get that, that would lead to greatness. Because it's possible to do great things and in the end not be great or have the people around us say, no, not so much. So what do we do? I mean, we can't say, well, that would never happen to me. You know, if I got those opportunities, I wouldn't make a mess of it. The reason we can't say that is because nobody draws a line from where they are to a ditch and says, hey, that's where I'm going, right? Nobody thinks it'll happen to them. So we can't just say, well, I'll be fine. As long as I can get wealth, opportunity, beauty, whatever, I'll be fine. We can't say that because everybody says that. But we can't turn it off either, can we? What are you saying, Vijay? Just dial it all down. Try not to do too much. Don't go after anything too hard. Get rid of ambition. Don't take risks. No, that's not right. It doesn't feel right. We have all been made and created with potential, given gifts and opportunities and talents. And there's something in us that wants to grow, that wants to be more, to achieve more, to do more. And I think that's part of what it means to be human. And I don't think we're meant to turn it off, but we do have to answer this question. Well, what is true greatness then? And if we say it's true greatness without regrets, right? Without being at the end of our lives and regretting the things we did to try to get greatness. Or the people around us saying, yeah, they got that, but they sacrificed me in the process. What is true greatness? We have to know. I mean, if we are going to pour, they say you're going to work in your life for 100,000 hours. Maybe that's a depressing number for you. But regardless, some of you maybe say, yeah, most of my kind of working hours and days, whatever, is ahead of me. Others would say, no, it's kind of behind me. Whatever that is, whatever we do for most days in all of our relationships and all of our pursuits, if we're going to pour our time, our energy, our sweat, our tears, if we're going to invest money into it, into a pursuit, we have to know, is this actually going to get me to true greatness? You might be interested to know it's not a new question, even though we are living in the digital age and social media has sort of turned this thing, on steroids in terms of greatness, the pursuit of greatness. It's not new. One of the earliest pastors, one of the earliest Jesus followers, his name was Paul. He wrote a letter to a church that was around just 10 years after the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And in fact, he was addressing this very question, what does it mean to be truly great? Because even though the circumstances were different 2,000 years ago, people are the same. And there was still that sense of like, how do I get better, do better, be better? And the church was not immune to this quest. And so the Apostle Paul actually in this letter that he's writing about greatness pauses and he begins to describe for them something that I think was really relevant for them, but is incredibly powerful for us now. Even 2,000 years later, I think it rings truer than ever. And it is a gift for every one of us, regardless if you're a person of faith or not, if you've never read the Bible or not, if you're saying, I'm not sure what I believe, I'm still figuring it out. But I know if you're anything like me, you're still trying to figure out the question, hey, how do I become truly great? And this passage is a gift. And so here's what he says. He says, if I speak in the tongues of men or angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Now, this is interesting. He actually describes a number of things that we would say, oh, this is what greatness. He first talks about talent or ability or gifting. He says, I could have amazing gifting, amazing talent that turns people's heads that they say, wow, I could never do that. But he also says, I could have like faith. I could have incredible faith to believe that things could happen, in the realm of faith. I could have faith, or even virtue, right? He says, if I give my money away, or it says, if I surrender my body to hardship. In other words, there were people who were dying for their faith. They were martyrs. They were willing to actually have so much virtue, they would sacrifice themselves. He said, I could have greatness and talent and ability. I could have incredible faith, and I could have virtue. But all of those things are nothing if I'm missing this one thing. He says, it's possible I could do great things. I could have great faith. I could be considered a greatly virtuous person, but all of those things are nothing if I'm missing one thing. He actually says, he doesn't just say the stuff that I accomplish isn't anything. He even says, I am nothing. He said, not only I could do great things, those great things could be nothings. I myself, in the end of my life, could say, you know what? I was nothing. That was not worth it. And then he says even worse, I could speak and do things in a way that I'm actually a gong or a clanging cymbal. Now, all of you gong players out there, for you, I know we're inviting people to serve in our churches, but if you're a gong player, I hate to break it to you, there's no room for you in the band, okay? You have to do something else. The gong, right? A gong is like this noise that's grating in your ears, and what do you do when you hear it? Like, oh, please stop. Like, just make it stop. He's actually saying, hey, it's possible that you could be speaking and doing things in a way that actually makes other people go, I know that looks great, but I just wish you would stop. We've actually had that reaction of people, right? They come across as someone who's successful, who's famous, who's wealthy, who's accomplished, who's, maybe in the sphere that we are, and yet it's hard to be around them. We just wish they would stop talking. He said, it's possible that you could be like that your words could be the kind of words that people say, could you just stop talking? That your deeds, the things you get done, in the end, you could say, that was nothing. And in the end, you could have a life that says, that was not worth living. All of those things are nothing if you're missing this one thing. What is the one thing? He says, it's love. You go, oh, love. It's like, no, not love. This is something actually really concrete, that if you don't have it, nothing else matters. It's in a sense saying love is greater than everything, because without love, everything else is nothing. You catch that? Love is greater than everything, because without love, everything else is nothing. You might say, oh, what does he mean by love? Just being a good person, like having good feelings? No, he actually then goes on to define, here's what I mean by love. This is what love is. And he goes on in verse 4-7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Paul begins to describe greatness for his audience. He says, hey, I know you think that it could be talent, it could be faith, it could be virtue, but all of those things are nothing unless you have this one thing that is love. And in case we're like, well, what does that mean? He goes on to describe it. And he's actually describing greatness, not in terms of faith or virtue or gifts, but in this word, character. The word character. It's actually another way to describe love. He's describing a kind of person who is patient, who is kind, etc. Now, the word character actually comes from this idea of sculpting. Someone who was a sculptor, the origin of the word character is this idea of carving or etching something, or really a person. And we know this because actually when we talk about someone's character, we might say things like, oh, the kind of impression you leave. The kind of impression or the mark you leave on someone, that is your character. It's this idea of etching or carving a face. And so Paul, in a sense, is describing a kind of person that is great. The character marks, the etchings, the carvings, or the stamping of love. And his point is this: what hinders you and I from making a difference in the world, from true greatness, is not a lack of opportunity. It's not a lack of beauty. It's not a lack of family pedigree. It's not a lack of wealth. It's not a lack of education. It's not a lack of intellect. He says what will hold you back from true greatness in the world is a lack of love, is a lack of character, of being the kind of person that people want to be around, the kind of thing that makes every other thing you do worth it, good, a blessing. We have to get underneath this a little bit because it's still so possible for us to think of love in very kind of ethereal, sort of feeling terms, or you might read that list and think, okay, yeah, I just got to try to be that more. Sometimes it's helpful for us to think about what a word means by thinking about what the opposite of it is. What is the opposite of love? It's not hate, it's pride. Pride is the opposite of love. Why do I say that? Because all of those descriptions of love are really about a life or a person who puts others first. And pride describes a life or a person or a way of living that puts the self first, right? Think about it. If I boast, right? He says love does not boast. If I boast, what am I doing? I am promoting myself. If I'm boastful in a conversation, I am thinking about how to make myself look better in front of you. I am thinking about how to make myself feel better in front of you. I am not thinking about how you feel about me promoting myself. I'm only thinking about me. Pride is a focus on self. That's why boasting is proud, and that's why it's the opposite of love. What about anger? We get angry with people when they are blocking our goals, when they are getting in the way of what we're trying to do, whether because we're in the left lane or we're trying to clean the house or we're trying to get somewhere in our work, someone is getting in the way and we are annoyed with them. We are angry with them. Why? Because this is about my life and you are preventing me from getting what I want. If I am thinking about myself, I am going to be angry with others who aren't helping me get done what I need to get done. What about kindness? Kindness is about being gentle, being willing to defer to someone else, being willing to use what you have in the service of others, right, is inherently others focused. And if you are primarily focused on yourself, you'll also keep a record of wrong. Oh, they did that to me. Oh, she said that again. Oh, right? When I'm focused on myself, it is easy to keep a record of wrongs. All of these descriptions of love are about being others focused, or in order to love, you must be focused on the other person. And pride is about me. Now, it's easy to see pride in the context of maybe boasting. It's certainly easy to see it in other people, right? You might have people come to mind. Don't do that. Don't elbow anyone right now, right? It's harder to see it in ourselves. But often we think about pride as arrogance. I'm good. I'm good. But pride is also insecurity, which says, I'm no good, right? It's the two sides of pride, arrogance or insecurity. Either way, it is an obsession with self. Pride says, I'm good. I can do this. I'm capable. I've got this. Let me tell you all the things. Let me give you my resume in the first 5 minutes of meeting you at a cocktail party or whatever. Pride also says, I'm hiding in the back of the room. I hope nobody asks me what I do for a living. I don't even have a job right now, or I don't want to tell them. I hope no one asks me about whether I'm dating someone. I hope no one asks me about how my kids are. I feel insecure, right? I'm no good. Either way, what is happening? I am staring at myself. I am consumed with myself, and I cannot love. Right? This is the two sides of pride, arrogance or insecurity. And here's what we need to understand. This is so powerful. Pride sabotages our ability to show love and our ability to receive love. This is why it's so terrible, it's so insidious. Pride sabotages our ability to show love. It sabotages our ability to receive love. Let me give you an example. Say you have a friend who has a great house and they're an amazing cook, and they invite you over for a meal. And you get there and the house is clean, it's perfect. The designs are just right. The lighting is just so, maybe it's been updated or renovated, and all of the touches and the hors d'oeuvres are perfect and they're served on just the right kind of plates, and you sit down and everything has been set perfectly. And it's a wonderful meal. And you think like, man, the queen probably doesn't get treated better than this. But if that person is doing that not out of hospitality, which is about love and other people, but about entertainment, which is about making themselves look good, the meal's not going to taste that good, is it? Why? Their arrogance, if it's about them, if they're trying to make themselves look good in front of you, it's going to be harder for you to actually receive the gift of a nice house and a great host and a delicious meal. Why? Because it's about them. That arrogance is actually going to keep them from showing love. Pride is going to get in the way of them actually loving you when they're hosting you. But insecurity can also get in the way, because say they're truly hospitable. They really love you. They actually went through all of the work and the details and found out exactly what you like, and they designed the place and they cleaned it because they wanted to love you. But if you're insecure and you come in there and only thing you're thinking about is, how come I don't have a house like this? And I should have thought of that. Or our house, I could never cook like this. And the whole time you're just thinking about how you don't measure up to the kind of people they are. What's going to happen? Are you going to be able, the meal's still not going to taste good. You're not going to be able to receive the hospitality, to receive love. Why? Because you are obsessed with yourself. And see, this is how pride works in our lives. Whether it's arrogance or insecurity, either way, it breeds an obsession with self that gets in the way of being able to show love and receive love. And so can I just suggest this to you, if I can be so bold as to say this? It's possible that what is sabotaging you and your effectiveness in your work, in your friendships, in your relationships, in your financial life, in your interactions, in your schooling, in your family, is not a lack of opportunity or intellect or education or wealth or beauty, but it's actually just a lack of love. It's actually pride. It's because you are self-focused and not others-focused. Whether you're arrogant or insecure, some of us we occupy more one end of the spectrum, others on the other, and sometimes it's just different depending on who you're with and what day it is. But it's possible that that's actually what's getting in the way of success and greatness in the life that you are trying to live. Let me illustrate it for you. Imagine this, think about this as what God has given you. Talents, abilities, opportunities, whatever they may be. And certainly his Holy Spirit, if you're a follower of Jesus, he's given you his presence and his power in fullness. In fact, the scriptures tell us the Holy Spirit is given freely to everyone in Christ. And it's not lacking. What you have is enough. But as it is being poured into your life, as I make a mess here, it's not the lack of what you have been given, but it is the holes in your character and your life where the greatness is actually leaking out. It's not actually a lack of gifting or intellect or faith or virtue. It is a lack of character. What is going on in your life, a lack of love, means you are unable to hold or hold on to what God has freely given to you. Which means this: if God really loves you, if you are really going to achieve true greatness in your life, in your education, in your relationships, in your vocation, in your financial life, if you are really going to achieve that, you and I may be focused on growing our gifting and our capability, but God is focused on growing your character, right? Because that's what's holding you back. What you have been given is enough. It is the lack of character that is holding you back. So while you and I may be trying to get smarter and better and learn more and be more effective and get more noticed and get more likes and subscribers and acquire more degrees and try to be more socially adept, God is actually focused on growing your character. He actually has committed himself. This is incredible. And maybe you didn't know this about God. Maybe it's something that you would actually think, maybe I'll rethink God. I didn't know this was true about him. He actually wants to make you more beautiful, and he has committed himself to that purpose. In a sense, like he is a sculptor who has committed himself to the etchings and the markings of love into your life to turn you into someone who is truly great. He is the one who carves love into our lives to make us beautiful, which sounds beautiful, but it is not. It is painful. It's painful. I remember many years ago when I was early on in my pastoral ministry, and there was a church down in Orlando who had offered to mentor us for a little while. And so we went down with a couple people from our team, and they were so gracious. They just kind of lifted up the hood and let us see what was going on. And they were actually a relatively new church. They were younger than ours too. But this guy who was the lead pastor, great leader, the church was just, really making some strides in mission in their community and doing amazing things. And they were so gracious to say, come learn. And so we were with them for 4 days. But I'll tell you, the whole time I was battling with insecurity. The whole time I was there thinking like, oh, this guy's the same age as me. And how come I don't? He's a way better leader. And this church is even younger than ours. And they're doing far more. They're doing the kind of things I wish we could do. How come the whole time I'm battling, I'm trying to learn, and yet insecurity is sabotaging my ability to receive these gifts of love where these people said, hey, come learn from us, right? Insecurity was getting in the way. And after I came back, whatever else I may have learned, it was actually an opportunity for God to point the finger in my heart and say, listen, what is holding you back from being the person I have called you to be, from being the pastor you long to be, from being a leader you long to be, is the insecurity in your life. I want to get rid of that. I want to carve that away. Man, it's painful to realize that about yourself. It's painful to see pride in you, whether it's arrogance or insecurity. Like I said, it's easy to spot in other people. It's hard to see in our own lives because we don't want to admit that it's there. It's painful. And yet, if we really want to be great, if we really realize, wait, this is the stuff that's holding me back. No, God, okay, let it happen. I want to actually grow. I want to actually see and find out the ways where insecurity or arrogance is sabotaging my ability to both give and receive love. See, ultimately, these descriptions of character are actually the descriptions of Jesus. Jesus, in a sense, is the face of love. If you read his 4 biographies in the Gospels that we have, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will find that he redefined what love is. He showed a life that was completely lived in the service of others, all the way to the point of actually giving up his life on the cross. And friends, this is what God has promised to do in our lives, to make us more like Jesus. See, our pursuit of greatness is not about becoming more educated or more beautiful or more successful, but about becoming more loving. More loving. And it's possible that the boss you wish would get hit by lightning, the person you keep having interpersonal conflict with that you feel is the problem in your relationship, in your marriage, in your family, in your neighborhood, the challenge you're having in your friendships, the difficulty you're having at work, is the very thing that God can use to actually make you more loving, right? It's the situation or the people that we're just praying would go away or praying would stop or that we want to run from. But that may be the very thing God is and can use to make you and I more loving. Because remember, while we may be committed to trying to grow our ability and capability and success, God is committed to growing our character. And so here is maybe one of the most important questions we can ask. It's a question that comes from the famous theologian, Tina Turner. What's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. You can sing at home, right? What's love got to do with this? That is a revolutionary question you can ask yourself, right? And here's what I mean. As I am seeking, for example, to grow or become great in my career or my education, what does love have to do with this? Right? Why do I want to get into this role? Why do I want to become a fill in the blank? Why do I want to get this promotion? What does love have to do with what I'm pursuing? What's love got to do with this? In the relationship or the person or situation that is testing your patience and your kindness or your self-control, what does love have to do with this? What would it look like for me to be able to respond in love? Maybe God is actually using this situation to give me an opportunity to become more loving. What does love have to do with this? And maybe as you kind of read or reread that list of characteristics, of descriptions of the character of love in 1 Corinthians 13 that we read today, which attributes do you desire to see more in your life? You look at and say, oh man, I need more of that. Oh man, I want that. What does love have to do with this? See, my friends, the world does not need more successful people. It does not need more educated people. It does not need more wealthy people. It does not need more famous people. The world needs more loving people. It needs people with a character to be able to hold and steward whatever amount of opportunity, talent, ability, faith, or virtue is poured into them. And you and I can actually see our world changed, even if we don't get any smarter or any more educated or any more followers or any more famous, if we could actually become more loving. Let me pray for you. Jesus, we thank you that you are the face of love, that you came to show us what true greatness really is. We admit, we confess it's not easy. We don't really want it. We don't want to be others focused. We don't want to give our lives away, but we do want the results. We do want to be people that other people say, I'd like to be a little more like them. We do want to be people at the end of our lives that the people who we lived with thank us for being willing to grow in love. We do want to be people at the end of our lives that we look back and said, I have no regrets. So Jesus, make us more like you. Thank you that that is why you came, not only to save us, but to make us more like you. And so we offer ourselves to you and ask you to make us more loving. That's why we pray in your name, Jesus. Amen.